The thing I noticed about this podcast
Mm-hmm.
is like it just starts like in the middle of the sound check.
Uh-huh. Yep.
So, which I may have just given you the start. I don't know. Maybe so. I don't know if we're live or if we're not live. Who knows?
That's how it always goes. See, you came in
see.
and you were recording.
Right.
So
yeah. See,
you never know.
right. That could be the beginning, or it could have been 3 minutes ago.
Exactly.
Or
Or
the future.
Yeah, could be the future.
Yes.
So thank you for joining us. See, we will just jump right into it and talk about Blind Bargains is kind of where I want to start and get to know a little bit more about, of course, the Blind Bargains podcast, but what gave you the idea of Blind Bargains and how you're using it. But before we get into that, Michael here. Last time we did an interview with someone, Demasi kind of took over and chatted with Stephen Scott. It turned into be a very philosophical interview. We'll see where this one ends up going. But I sat in the background. Demasi is busy doing that thing that he does, which involves vending machines and very heavy traffic. So he will not be joining us tonight. But I am joined by JJ. Hey, JJ.
Hey, what's up?
Yeah.
You know, and a podcast at 10 p.m. I like this. This is my schedule.
There you go. Yeah, you can't do it too early. 10 p.m.
10 p.m. is perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Did you host a lot of Blind Bargains podcasts at 10 p.m.?
No, I don't think we ever had one at 10 p.m.
Okay. Were they like normal work hour scheduled recording?
So we recorded most weeks. When we were doing the weekly show, it was like 7. I think we when we were trying to be consistent, it was like 7 p.m. Monday or something to that effect.
And then life happened.
Consistency, whatever that means.
Yeah. So why'd you start Blind Bargains?
Blind Bargains,
either the site or the podcast, wherever you want to go.
The site was first. The site was first, and it went back to this was 2000. Oh, years blend together. I think it was the end of 2005, right around there, 2006, and had really noticed. I think it started with seeing a bunch of sites that would take blindness stuff and call it a blindness thing and then mark it up 300%. So, you'd have random talking clock on that you could get on a blindness site, it'd be like $69. And then early Amazon would have it for $12.73. I'm like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
And starting to find those deals. And this was also back, the money side of it, because things do have to, you know how it goes with blogs that are altruistic 100% don't last as much because, well, you run out of time or energy or money or all those things. So there had to be a little bit of something too. So this was back when affiliate programs were actually worth it.
Yeah.
And you could make 4 or 5% on selling something. So, we got set up on pretty much as many as we could, a lot of the big sites. So this was sites that don't exist anymore. Buy.com, are they still around? I don't think so. Tiger Direct was big. Newegg, I think, still exists now. And others. And of course, Amazon was their own thing. And eBay too. That was the other thing. We found this random old stuff on eBay because people would, and still do. You can go on eBay. If you want a random old Braille embosser that may or may not work, and you want to play that lottery, they're on eBay. I found a VersaBraille. You can get up there. So it really started there, and this was before WordPress was really a thing or any of those things. So it was all hand coded sloppily in PHP, and that is still the code in large part that runs the whatever's left of the site. We haven't really done the deals side of things for a while now,
right?
But that morphed into podcasts. That morphed into going to ATIA because I got a really cheap ticket. Was it on Spirit? I don't know. In 2008, and deciding to take an Olympus recorder down there and do some badly recorded interviews.
So those are the first podcasts? Was the interview
first podcast? So everything is up there. Yeah, you can go back.
Yeah.
ATIA 2008. I think there's a Windows 7. What's new thing in that one?
Yeah.
So, they're all up there. We have the entire history. And they were, we did event podcasts at ATIA, CSUN, NFB, ACB, all the way through 2014, and then the regular podcast started in 2015 when the Serotech stuff kind of all disbanded.
Gotcha. So that kind of turned into what is now known as the BBQ cast?
Yeah. Well, no, but BBQ cast would be redundant.
Well,
Q is the cast.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
And what was one of it? See, Joe knows this stuff, right? If you're like, he would come up and tell me which listener it was that came up with that idea for the cast with a Q. Mm-hmm. And yeah, we went strong for 6 years, up through 2020, and then just, again, like so many other things, time gets in the way, other interests, and and also the way people consume things now, I think, is a little bit different. Than, having a weekly kind of news recap was a really cool thing, and now there's so much more social that just gets you the news within 13 seconds,
and AI that makes it up.
Yeah. Well, it sometimes is correct, but
yes. So where does AT Guys fall into there? I imagine around ATIA.
It ties exactly into that ATIA. In 2008, I interviewed Code Factory. Back this is when they were doing MobileSpeak. Let me see if I can figure out who it was. So but anyway, I did a podcast with them, and the idea, I don't remember if they asked me or if I asked them, but the discussion was, hey, you want to sell MobileSpeak? Mm-hmm. MobileSpeak, for people younger than 30, was phone software that you had to buy on Nokia phones. There was two. There was Talks and there was MobileSpeak. Talks was probably the better of the two, but they got a little closer as time went on. And then MobileSpeak was there on Nokia's, and that is my washing machine. I'm not sure if you hear that. It is shaking.
I did hear it. Someone's knocking for a second.
It is technically working. So yeah, and it was scary as heck at first, right? Because it's like the contract to sell MobileSpeak was, you're going to agree to sell 32 of these in a year. Oh, this was retail at $295.
Okay.
It's dealer costs like half of that, a little more than half of that, and so we had to commit to buy 8 per quarter. So buying the first 8 was scary. It's really scary, but that's when got the website and found a shopping cart software that was with us for 16 years and, many other things, and started to piece it all together and sold the first 8 in about a month. And Blind Bargains and other things I was in at the time was definitely a large part of that. And I tell people so often, it's like, if you can get a passion project blog going, or just some cool free thing or thing that you're handing out for a minute and a half, one of the really cool benefits of that is when you come out with something later on that you're trying to sell, people know you.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened there. We already had an audience that we could promote to, and many of those Blind Bargains people were some of our first customers, and some of them still are customers. Mm-hmm.
And they still want the Blind Bargains content to come out. And
they do.
And we hear about it.
Well, there's more of it on here on Technically Working than there is on Blind Bargains.
What got you into physical products? Because going from software to physical is kind of a big jump.
What was our first physical product? The KNSB reader, I want to say.
Okay.
This was the Nokia package, so it was an extension for us. It was a logical extension of things. I'm not sure. Was that one first? I think that was next. I'd have to go back and look. That and the iBill.
Okay.
Back when you had to pay for the iBill.
Yeah, that was before it got sent to you from the Treasury Department.
Oh, yeah. I mean, talk about an early business learning moment. Actually, what killed the iBill was not that. It was Looktel.
Okay. I remember that app.
Looktel killed the iBill. That was early iPhone app currency. I think it was $10. And our iBill sales went down by about 90%.
Oh.
So we by that point, we only had 5 or 6 products. So yeah, it was a really, really, really small, gradual roll up, especially over the first, I'd say, decade of AT Guys.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's longer than I thought, because I was thinking it would have been slow for like the first couple of years, but maybe the first decade, do you think?
You know, there was momentum for sure, right? By 2014, 2015, we were into doing power banks and keyboards and things like that.
Yeah.
I definitely think, over the past 2 or 3, it's definitely moved a lot faster than it did before. And that's a good thing. And that's thanks to this guy and Demasi and now Jacob, and which is awesome. And he didn't pay me to say that.
So. One of the big things I think that some people might hesitate in doing what you did with AT guys is, well, Amazon already provides all these things. So what makes you stand out from what Amazon's doing?
Right.
Because you can't do 2-day delivery. Pretty darn close, though. Just saying.
No, it's gotten better for sure. And, we try to be as good as we can, I think, right? With making it as easy to buy stuff. Moving to Shopify really helped there, I think. And it's a lot easier to click a couple buttons and buy stuff. And then it's customer service. And, the thing that we've always told people for AT guys is if you go to our site and you see a product, you know right away it's going to be accessible. Mm-hmm. And it's not just blindness stuff. Almost all the other stores that sell blindness stuff, and there are some great stores out there. We play friendly with a lot of people in our industry. But most other blindness stores sell blindness stuff. That's it. Yep. They sell note takers, they sell embossers, magnifiers, things like that. And we are one of the few that sells some of that, but also lots and lots of mainstream stuff that has been vetted and we know works, and we can tell people how it works, and we can tell them how to set it up by themselves. And people have come to appreciate that. When you look at how many repeat customers we have, and it's a lot. I'm sure we could pull a report on it now that we have that type of stuff. But it's definitely, I'd say, 1 out of every couple orders I see is, oh yeah, I know that name, I know that name, I know that name, and that's, I think, it's the reputation that's been built over time. That's really, and just thanks to all the great customers out there that have supported us and supported the small business, because they could buy on Amazon, and we get that, and sometimes people will. I get it. Sometimes you need it tomorrow, and we're not going to do that. But people, I think, remember us and appreciate what we try to do. I'm very grateful for that.
I think, and I admit that I've been guilty of not getting this done as much, and it's something we all, I think, are going to be working on in the next couple of months. But having the accessible user guides makes a huge difference to the products, because you can go to Amazon and get any product on Amazon, but do you know how to use that device? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and sometimes you can find a PDF, sometimes you can't, and so you're running around all over the place. And that is definitely a thing. And I know we've fallen behind on a few of the new things, because I'm trying to get a whole bunch of new products up at once. Keyboard layouts, right? That's a thing. And I'm sure we're going to delve into some AI stuff, because that just seems to happen around these parts, and it's interesting how that can kind of help with some of that, but it doesn't. You don't want AI. Sometimes it's going to, if it mixes up a keyboard layout, and just, even if it mixes up a couple keys, well, that's no good anymore. Yeah. So you got to really be careful how it's done. But, I know once it's there, it's appreciated. And
cross-check for sure. I imagine e-commerce was not what you thought you were going to get into when you were in school. So what did younger JJ think he was going to be doing?
That's a good question. It changed over time. I started college thinking journalism. I was the editor of my school paper in high school.
Okay.
And there was always a tech side of me. This was the late 90s when there actually wasn't official websites for much of anything. So I was putting our school newspaper articles up on the web, on a random site, and doing things like that, and got into journalism. And here's the theme, right? I did the first class or two. You know what the first journalism assignment is for new journalism students?
No.
To write your own obituary.
Okay.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah, that would be
interesting. Makes you
kind
of think, and how well can you tell a narrative? Right. Because some of the best writing in the newspapers is, sadly or whatever, or graciously, whatever, is the obits, because that is the picture of someone's life. But I did that, and in the first class or two, it was fine. I think it was either the second or the third class. I'm like, when you start getting assigned, all right, we need you to go to the city commission meeting and, interview someone and write about it. It started to become less interesting when I didn't get to pick the topics. So there's where the entrepreneurial, theme comes in, right? It's like when someone else is telling me what to write and what to do, my interest just wasn't there. There was still a little bit of that journalism background, and early Blind Bargains, especially, we broke some stories back in the day. It was deals, but there were times, and we had so much fun with this, because sometimes the big companies, right, like Humanware, AI Squared, they would have their upcoming press releases in a folder on a web server where there was no, you could just browse the directory. Or we had another one where it was like, right now, the Humanware newsletter 231.html. Oh, let's see what 232 is. Oh, that's interesting. So it kind of became a challenge. Like, people were like, oh yeah, I had friends that run the beta for KNFB Reader. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to break the next version before you try me. And did it, 2 or 3 versions in a row. So,
wow. Yeah.
But yeah, one thing led to other things. I don't really know. I mean, I think it just kind of happened, right? I came out of college doing a little bit of coding as a career. And again, it was working for someone else. And I quit it after a month.
Gotcha.
Just wasn't
doing it.
I love to dabble in code and do stuff on my own time. So yeah, I think I just realized, having that flexibility and freedom is so much. It is a huge challenge too, right? Like, cause you come in making $0.
Right.
And to go from that, to try to make more than $0, it's a challenge, especially when you don't have a lot of funding at the beginning to bankroll it, which we didn't.
Do you remember making that first money online, or was it one of those things that just happened?
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely remember, when the first orders for MobileSpeak came in. I think there was probably 2 or 3 in the first week, and I was like, "Ooh, wow,
this can be done.
This might actually be a thing."
Yeah,
and yes, the feeling when you have make your first sale and you see that, I mean, I still now. I mean, I have never turned off. I thought about it because it's like, and maybe someday I'll have to, but I don't turn off the order emails. I love to see them. Or when I'm, let's see who bought, and it's that never gets told. I don't have the Shopify app in the ka-ching.
Like you hear on every ad on podcasts. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
No. I'm good on that. I don't have that turned on. I'm good on that. But yeah, it's a bit of a rush just to see that, I think, and it's just cool to have. I dabbled in. I had other failed business ventures. I had buyitfromj.com.
Okay. And that went nowhere?
It went nowhere. It ran on some other Miva merchant. This is like back in Pearl was a thing. I was buying the Of Glove at wholesale. That was one thing that site was doing. And, turned around a few here and there and whatever. And probably the failures of that, not necessarily failures, it just didn't really go anywhere. But I think that, things like that, I think were kind of just good in like living and learning about how to figure this stuff out.
A mailing list is huge. And I don't have to tell you that, but for listeners who may not know, building your mailing list gives you an avenue to advertise to right away. What are your thoughts about how you've built your mailing list and how effective it's been?
So I think it's been okay, right? So you anytime a customer orders and wants to, they get on the mailing list, which is great. So you have lots of people who already bought something. We have the box up there that says subscribe or for hot deals. I think there's a lot more opportunities for growth. And it's kind of funny, right? Email is old school in some ways, but it's still very much top of mind for people. You can do so much. So, you're getting email from big brands, and I know you guys have talked about this, or I'm sure you have, is, because you can segment like crazy.
Yep.
And that, I think, is definitely an area that I'd want to play with more. And find a way to do it, because I am with everyone else. I don't want to be starting to get emails every day, right? Gosh, these companies are like emailing me every single day. Hey, check this out. Check this out. Why didn't you check this out yet?
Yep.
Like, no, but but maybe there's some opportunity right in the middle, right? So like if you're sending a newsletter once a month, and maybe in that 2-week gap, right in the middle, you can do some targeted things that say, hey, let's find all the people who bought, voice recorders, and let them know that we have an accessory pack. Like, I think there's things like that you can do, and you're hitting certain people and without being bombarding. Because I am up the thought, and maybe it's old school, and I feel like if I'm going to send an email to you, I want it to be useful, right?
Yeah.
And I know some marketers they've done the math on this, and sure, maybe you get an extra 2% of people if you send so many emails in a week, but you're also pissing some people off at that point, way more than you need to. So, there's a balance there somewhere, but email is still powerful.
You want people to look forward to your email, which would be ideal, at least not hesitate to hit that open button, because they'll realize, oh, I'm going to get something out of this. It's not going to be, and in our case, a inaccessible image of all of our new deals, because we've gotten those too. So again, it goes back to that. What we send, is going to be accessible for the most part. And, sometimes... I would say sometimes it misses the point, but I think all of the time we have labeled links. All of the time we provide descriptions to the images that we want. We could probably do a little bit more better at providing more value in that newsletter as well. And I think that's where growth opportunities are.
I think that's big. And the other thing that we haven't really explored yet definitely is it probably would be good to figure out pictures to an extent. Like, okay, how can we easily put a picture in an email for those that would benefit from said thing? Yeah. And, that way you have that along with, and obviously doing it while not losing accessibility, of course, but.
So you're an Android guy. Let's talk a little bit about tech that you use on a regular basis. Have you always been Android, or did you try the iPhone for a little bit?
Nope. Never did. I've always been, I guess I've been the underdog because I was always a window I was a window bridge and a window eyes user, and then went to NVDA. My initial Android reasons, though, looking back, are kind of, some of them make sense and still are, and some of them are kind of silly. One was I wasn't sold on touchscreens yet and the efficiency. So earlier Android phones had slide out keyboards, so you could do that. And that was useful in many regards. So that was definitely one of the original things. And also, like, just some of the things that especially early iPhones did, seeing my friends have to go through all sorts of crap just to copy a ringtone on their phone. Like, what? Why? This is stupid. I can just plug my phone in and it pops up as a device. And then, and being able to swap out pieces like the web browser, and of course, over time, the iPhone has opened up a fair amount of these things now.
What was that?
That was a mistimed Google thing that tell me my laundry's done. It's not. Just to sidetrack for a second. So I had working on Home Assistant a smart plug on the washing machine that was actually monitoring the power level and telling you what cycle it was on and all that. Somehow, at some point, that stopped working. It did like a nice little washing machine is complete thing. Right.
Gotcha.
I think I even have. Oh.
Washing machine has completed.
Yeah.
Was that TTS?
Probably.
Yeah.
It was pre-11 labs.
Did you see the Home Assistant voice assistant now?
I saw that.
Yeah, I'm interested. I don't have anything.
I need to get my Home
Assistant
running again. Mine has lapsed, and I was going to move it to my NAS.
Are you with Synology?
I am.
Okay. How do you find the accessibility of that?
Yeah, decent enough.
Okay.
Right now, one of the latest updates made it so I can't right now get to my drive from Windows. So I need to, there's always something little, right? There's always some goofy little thing you got to figure out. You can't get my Synology Nah, it's working on Windows, but yet I can install an NVDA add-on and use Keynote Gold. Great.
Oh, that's awesome. Do you think content creation right now in 2024 going into 2025 is a waste of time?
I think no. I mean, well, what I was trying to say, or what I was thinking in my mind, right? I don't think human-generated content is a waste of time. There is way too much boilerplate AI content, and any of us who use AI tools can, read it from a mile away. And there are great uses for AI creating content for things, or for fleshing things out. And I think that really can be useful, but I still get drawn into a well-written blog post, and you can tell that it was, and they're especially well-researched things, more in-depth things like, people that post on Medium or Substack or something similar, or a local version of the same, it's more in-depth content. And that, I think, there still is a market for. The challenge is people, again, it's finding ways to do it. The bigger players finding ways to do it and also still make money from it, because they need to, put food on the table if they're going to be writing all day. So you just hope that AI content just doesn't take over everything, And I'm not an AI hater. I love AI for lots and lots of things, but it has the potential, well, more than the potential. I mean, it's eroding a lot of online content, right. Especially when you search for it. Now the washing machine is complete.
How are you using AI now? Because I'm using it for image descriptions. I'm now, thanks to you, using it for video descriptions. Although that really, as I said the other day, it's
not
okay.
there yet. It's not there yet. And look, all of these pseudo live, but they're not live tools that have been coming out over the past couple of weeks are interesting. But what we've realized is there's a secondary step. There is what we had at the beginning with images. Be My AI starting it. We take a picture and it gives you a nice description. Cool. And then what we want is full video streaming where you can talk and it's looking all the time. And what we have right now is video streaming, but it's only going to look at a screenshot when you ask it to. Mm-hmm. Better than nothing if it's accurate. I don't think Gemini Flash 2.0 is very accurate, but maybe the ChatGPT one is, or maybe Be My Eyes will get something. So yeah. I use it for tons and tons of images. Images is definitely probably my biggest thing, whether it's online shopping. I do it mostly on the computer. It's just quicker. I have, 2 NVDA add-ons, and then another program called Basilisk installed. I think that's how you pronounce it. That's how I'm pronouncing it. And the websites as well. Like I probably could cut back a little bit on what I'm using or paying for. But using it for images, I think, is still the best use. Even if I'm doing, it falls into some work stuff. If I'm doing website testing, right, and you have unlabeled, now I can send the report to someone that says your picture of a chair has no, instead of just saying there's an unlabeled graphic here, I can actually reference the image so they know what they're looking at, and I do it at the same time. So I found a lot of interesting uses. I have it do lots of little code things just to be goofy. I've made some pretty obnoxious captchas.
Oh.
To kind of fight back with all the visual captchas.
Uh-huh.
So I made a captcha that's a music captcha, and it will it'll say, select all the minor chords. And then you have... Yep.
That would keep me out. That's for sure.
Yeah. Patrick loved it.
Yeah.
It was one of the first, because I had the first one was, just play, type the notes as you hear them, and it played like C, F, randomized. Mm-hmm. So I just love doing stupid stuff like that with AI, because it can very often one shot these. I mean, it usually probably takes an hour or two by the time you're done with it. When you're like, no, I actually want to do this, and this isn't working, and this isn't working. And I think it's good to have some coding background to help it frame things, because it will. It doesn't always use the newest stuff. So one thing I have been working on that I haven't put out yet, but I probably will sometime, is I have an Amazon image describer guy. And it takes the Amazon picture and describes it, using their API and then using Open Router with take your pick of model. And it describes it. And then I started feeding it the title of the product, because I found when I gave it the title and the picture, it was doing much more accurate descriptions.
Okay.
So, so stuff like that I think can be really useful to just do these small little projects. My Bluetooth scale, or not Bluetooth scale, my USB scale, which I used to pay for Indicia, $10-15 a month, back when I was shipping packages every day. Well, the one thing I was still using Indicia for was the scale, because it supported that scale and it'd read the rates. I'm like, this is stupid. So I think this was even back with ChatGPT 3.5. I got me to write a little Python script that I can run in now, and I can plug in the scale and I can run this scale script and it will read me out the weight. And that literally saved me $150 a year.
Yeah.
By that.
That's awesome. Huh.
Really random stuff.
Yep, random stuff that make your life easier. You kind of mentioned it a little bit. You used to ship out packages in the beginning of AT Dice. How has that evolved? Because you don't, for the most part, anymore.
Right. Yeah. Well, how is the shipping process evolved?
Yeah.
Well, I will say it for people who, first of all, for anyone who wants to ship out things, there are definitely accessible ways to do it. How I did it for many years, and I know, Doug and I used, Langley used to talk about, we would always trade back ideas, because we were, at the time, I think, some of the first blind merchants that were selling things and also doing our own shipping. We didn't have a sighted assistant doing the stuff for us. We were figuring out how to do this stuff accessibly, right? And so you get the half sheet labels. Well, they're 2 to a sheet, and you put them in the printer, regular printer, in the single feed, and then we used Indicia at the time, or I did, and now you could use Pirate Ship for free. So that's one nice thing. So you don't have to pay for shipping software anymore. And you print the first label, and then you turn it around, and so the other half of the page is coming in, and then you print the second one. I tried doing batches where it's like, all right, print these 5, and then I'm like, oh yeah, and then I would always mess up on trying to remember which one was, okay, wait, was this John's or was this Bill's? So I've learned pretty quickly that was not an efficient way to go about. I had to do them one at a time. Unless I had like 4 of the same order, like, sometimes you'd have like a run on power banks. Then you could just, all right, I'm just going to print out a whole bunch of these because it doesn't matter. And now I got off an auction site, a really, really, really old Zebra label printer that does the 4x6 labels facing sideways on a roll.
Okay.
So that's a little easier, because now I just press a button. Now, of course, finding drivers and stuff was stupid, but once I got it working, it's a lot easier now, because you hit that, as long as you make sure you have the right label type and you press it, and it spits out like in 1 second. So, there are ways to hack it and make it work better. And I think we got to share that stuff. That's why I love like this type of podcast, because you got to talk about some of that really tech type stuff, to like, things that you have to figure out that most people are not even going to bother with.
Because it's how we can all help each other, is sharing the knowledge. What was, or was there a catalyst that said, I can't keep shipping out of my house, I got to go to a warehouse?
Traveling.
Okay.
It was being gone. First it was at CSUN. First it was convention, and convention the first 3 or 4 years. My dad, who had recently retired, was like, "Oh yeah, I'll help you." So he did that for a while. So that was fun.
Yeah.
But then there was more traveling happening. I went to CSUN every year, went to ATIA a bunch of years, went to Washington Seminar, and whatever other just random trips. And it's not really a good look to say, "Hey, thank you for your order. We'll ship it in a week and a half."
Especially nowadays, I don't think you could get away with that nowadays.
No, you couldn't.
Yeah.
And so first tried Amazon FBA fulfillment, and that was crazy. I don't recommend that. I mean, there are certainly probably reasons where that can make sense, and what I've done is not a good reason for that. They're just, when it works, and it's cool to have your item on the Prime box and free shipping and blah, blah, blah. But also they take a chunk. I mean, even if you can go on there and you can self ship, like you can say, hey, ship this item out of my Amazon stock to this person. And you could do that manually, but it was taking time. Right. And it was just, we found a place in Michigan that links up. That was one of the first things, like, all right, if I'm going to do this, it's got to link to the shopping cart. It has to, because like a lot of them, all you do is you send us a daily batch of Excel. No, because then we still have to post back the tracking numbers. It needed to be automated. Right. And thankfully this is, we're using ZenCart, which is not as big of a cart, and the support, the third-party support for it was always there, but really held together by about a half dozen people. So, thankfully, they used ShipStation, and that was the thing that ShipStation had a ZenCart connector, and it was able to work. And it took me a long time to really, like, it was very slow at first, kind of starting to send a few things, a couple of things here and a few things there, before I finally committed and had everything over there, and really nothing here. And it's definitely probably one of the best decisions. It's so easy to look at things from a money standpoint, right? Like, oh my gosh, that's going to be $100 a month or whatever it is to pay for the space. And you're paying more per order. Well, it would be cheaper for me to ship it myself. Yes, it would be cheaper, but that's if you value your time as zero.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you have to make that determination of, is my time worth doing all of this, or can I just pay? And that also gives you the flexibility of growth, whereas your time, you're limited to what you can do.
It's just so much parallel to like online gaming, right? Like a lot of RPGs where you're leveling up your equipment, and and I was always one of those people that like I would like figure out the mathematically the best way to do it, and with the least amount of time. And any game, I'm actually playing War Shovel now. It just came out. It's another one of those. It's the Lost Vault successor.
Okay,
so it's an idle-ish RPG. It's nothing fancy, but you build on, you farm and you do lumber and you kill stuff, whatever, that, and and it has a marketplace. So any game that has a marketplace, well, I'm like, you listed this two-handed sword for only 3,000 gold. Well, that's stupid. I'm going to buy that, and then I'm going to come and sell my old weapon for 50,000 gold. So,
yeah.
The numbers aren't the same in real life, unfortunately. It doesn't work the same way for whatever reason. I don't know, but
if it did, everyone would be doing it.
Yeah. And that's a thing, right? Well, so now we're on Shopify, and there are so many apps. And many of them will save time, but is it worth $19 a month to save,
per user
per use? And sometimes most of Shopify's aren't per user, I don't think.
True. But as you said,
some other,
we were on, it's dependent on the plan.
Zendesk is like that, and that's like per seat. I'm like, why does it matter? You're not using your app 4 times as much. That's why, $15. Now, one thing some apps do on Shopify is they price it based on your Shopify plan, which I think is also stupid, because they're like, oh yeah, you're on the Shopify plan. Well, that means you should pay for our advanced. No, I don't need your advanced features. So I don't understand that pricing model either. But yeah, it's interesting, right? There's just so many tools out there, and finding ways to discover the new ones. And you could spend your entire life just trying out new tools.
Yeah.
And you would get nothing done either, right?
Yes. That's the thing. Is it worth the time to play with all these, or just find one thing that works and pay a little bit for it?
Yep. Well, and even figuring out if it's worth paying for, right?
Yeah.
And then, of course, is it accessible?
And that's again where it comes into having those relationships with other people who might have tried it. 'Cause I don't know about you, but it feels like since we switched to Shopify, everyone's using Shopify. At least that's what it seems like. So I'm like, oh, that looks familiar. That must be Shopify.
Right. And we weren't the first in the blindness sphere even.
No.
After we, Doug was ahead of us on it, I believe.
Yep.
And, there were some others. And, well, there's the thing, right? So you have some would say, why would you pay for Shopify? You can do this on WooCommerce for free or Drupal Commerce too, right? Mm-hmm. But what you look at is the things now. Yeah, if you're selling, it's all about what you're doing, right? If you're a small entrepreneur, you're just getting started, and whatever, you're a maker, you're selling one or two products. You don't need to get a whole Shopify store for that, right? You could do a PayPal button and start off that way, or do WooCommerce for free. But some of the more advanced things is that, when new things come out, Shopify, for better or worse, is on them. So like I wanted to get our listings on Google. It's literally about 2 or 3 clicks. Mm-hmm. Link your account, log in, blah, blah, blah. Okay, done. And all of that stuff, every single thing with ZenCart was, pray, we hope there's an add-on that maybe will work for it. Let's see. And, sometimes you'd get lucky and it was awesome. And sometimes like, oh man, we still can't take Apple Pay. Now we can.
But now we can. Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do you see AT guys going in the next 10 years?
Oh gosh. 10 years.
10 years. Most people ask you for a year or 5 years or something. I'm thinking like, what is it that you want to do in the next 10 years?
Where are we going to be in 10 years, right? It is so like tech is evolved so much. Like there's going to be several, for one, I definitely, I hope it's around in 10 years. I think there's still a lot of potential for growth. Mm-hmm. I think there's lots of crossover into mainstream that's even possible. And, it doesn't like you literally could have a bit of a, you could have a tech store that was less blindness focused that was selling out of the same warehouse if you wanted to. I'm not saying that's the best idea, and maybe it isn't,
right.
but like there's a lot of different ways. There's so many seniors that are just losing their vision that don't know yet what they need, but maybe they would benefit from a little magnifier. And I think there's a lot of potential there, but I also think I love AI and tools and creating services, and I'd love to dabble into creating some cool software or some apps or something. There's a lot of stuff like that. Mm-hmm. There's just so many. It's just got to be interesting, right? If AT guys looks like it does now, in 10 years we did something wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's grown a lot, and since I started with you, and that was 21. So yeah, and it really has, and I'm fortunate, that I was in a position to be able to expand. That's like the hardest decision is like hiring your first person or second person, because it's like, okay, now I got to spend all this extra money. Mm-hmm. But then you realize, okay, it's going to be worth it because they're doing all these things that you didn't have time for. Right.
And so it's, who knows? 10 years. I think it's going to be a lot more, I think you certainly can see more voice driven things, AI driven things. We'll see. I think in the next 1 year, I wouldn't surprise me if we have some sort of glasses, right? And I'm not saying that because I know something. I really don't. But I see enough of these various glasses products that come out besides Meta that I could see one of them becoming a company that's like, hey, we want to make this work really well.
And probably sub $500 because there are quite a few out there right now, but they're all super expensive.
And that's the thing, right? That it would be like so many other things we've done. It would be a mainstream product, and we made it work. Mm-hmm. And I think those are, like we have some great blindness specific products, and I love them. But just as many as our mainstream products, I think it's really cool. Like I didn't know, right? So when Zoom announced the accessible recorders, we weren't with Zoom. So, we had no reason to be with Zoom because they had nothing that was accessible. And, I didn't know what would happen, but turns out they're a company that's really amenable to independent retail. And, so we were able to pretty easily picked them up, which was awesome. And, always, we want to know about stuff, right? We added this, the power brick, the charge power brick. That was a customer who said, hey, you should check this out. And I got
Same
one.
with the meter. Customer told us, check this out. And I didn't think they were going to be open to it because they were a lot larger. And then we just sent them an email and said, hey, here's our customer. And I think with them, we were set up in like a week or two. Like it went smooth.
Yeah. Some of these companies, there's a tier, a size of company that I think really gets that model, right? So Shock's built itself on independent retail. Mm-hmm. And they sell plenty to Amazon and Best Buy and all that, and they're a known brand now, which is great. But they built themselves independent retail, and they didn't lose sight of it. You can still do everything you could. Now I can't talk to the CEO or anything anymore, but they're a much larger company. Mm-hmm. But I think those types of brands, those kind of mid-tier brands that are really high quality, they're not Apple, they're not Bose or Sony. Like we're not going to sell those because those companies are too big for us, generally speaking. It's that next tier in business size, but not necessarily in quality, right? Like Tribbit is routinely on, when I just pull up random articles, best Bluetooth speakers, and usually there's a Tribbit speaker on there quite often.
Okay.
So like they have made themselves, iClever has made themselves known as a good keyboard brand, and we're able to get those.
And is that how you got started with some of these other products? Like Tribbit, is you just reached out to the manufacturers and said, hey, here's who we are, here's who we serve. Can we sell your products? Yeah,
really a lot of cold emails like that. Well, sometimes they'll have a contact us. We sold... Well, remember the first power bank we sold was not accessible. It was it 5,000 milliamp? But it was one of the early ones. And then the MyCharge came out, and that was the one that talked. Okay. MyCharge still exists at a company. They just got out of talking power banks for whatever sad reason. Because they had that really cool one that had the power plug that folded out. And so... Yeah, we really just approached them and say, hey, we see you're doing this cool thing. We sell, we sell to blind people especially, and that's our niche. Because something you have to convince them sometimes that we would like to sell online, and we're not going to ruin your online business. Mm-hmm. So often it says, okay, we won't sell on Amazon because we know you like Amazon. That's fine. I don't want to deal with it anyway. Yeah, so. Yeah, a lot of times it's either cold emails. Sometimes it's somebody, sometimes they'll come to us, I think Hable came to us.
Yeah, a couple of times.
Yeah, Slinger came to us. Yeah, I mean, and you're right. And sometimes the first time you know what, we're not really sure. But then 6 months later, we'll realize that 10 customers have asked us about this thing, and like, oh, you know what, maybe we should give this another chance. Or, or they lowered the price, or something is different, or there's a new version, or, like, I think it makes a lot of sense if you're going to pick up a new product to try to get in at the beginning, right? Get in when the new one is coming out, because then you have a nice, cool, shiny new product. Instead of saying, "Hey, we're now selling this speaker that's been around for the last 5 years, so anyone who really wanted one probably already got it." So, there's no one answer, but it's really. Sometimes, like, you'll send an email, and a day later, you're rolling on an agreement. And sometimes you're like banging your head against the wall. Like, come on, these guys have a reseller email. Why aren't they answering it?
Do I really want this relationship?
Right. Well? And we've had a couple. It's like, and eventually they come through. Okay, and so. But yes, the customer feedback. I always tell people, if you know of cool things, especially from brands that people haven't heard of as much, but they're really doing a good thing. Mm-hmm. Chances are they'll work with us because they're a smaller company and they are happy as heck to sell a smaller quantity. Like I wrote Anchor once, and their minimum was 1,000. We're not buying 1,000 of anything.
No. Have you ever done anything with paid ads, and how has that resulted for you? Like paid ads with Facebook, X.
Yeah. I've dabbled more than anything, right? And I know it could be do more with it. I think there's a few challenges. One is you could do the text ads on Google, and I did them, and over the years, sometimes the ads worked okay, but the interface was crap, accessibility wise. Now the interface is better, but then you talk to people about, hey, running Google ads or Performance Max, and they're like, oh yeah, that's the worst thing you could do. It's a waste of money. Like, well, so I think there are definitely spots to do advertising, and I've liked we did a partnership with Sam with the Blind Life once. That was fun. We've I've thrown prizes at like random gamer podcasts, or I think we're in the rotation on RS Games right now. Those little monthly ads that everyone just ignores, but it's if one person sees it for a $10 ad,
it
was worth it.
Yep.
And same thing with like Tidbits, right? Tidbits has become a little long, I think.
Yes, just a little.
Just a bit. But I still think there's value in having a featured ad from time to time, and it's sometimes you can't just measure the sale off that ad, but if people see you enough times, maybe it'll jog their memory. Like, oh yeah,
I have heard of that. And then when a friend says, hey, you should go buy that from AT guys, they're going to be more likely to say, yes, I'm going to go get that from them, more than just because my friend told me to.
Yep, exactly.
So a common misconception that I hear, and I'm curious on what your thoughts are, is that blind people don't like to spend money. Would you disagree with that?
Would you like to see my Amazon order history? And that's just Amazon plus any other store, plus all indie retailers, plus and then not counting all the local stuff and DoorDash, Uber Eats.
And don't get me started on stupid DoorDash.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I might put in an order right after this.
See, and you can, because it works. It works well. No, but I have heard that, and I'm sure you've heard it too. Blind people don't want to spend money or won't spend money, but I disagree with that myself.
Well, okay, there's some things here, right? There's definitely, I'm not sure 70% is the number. I think that gets thrown a lot of. But obviously, you have a lot of blind people who are underemployed because of discrimination, all those types of things. And so lots of people are living off of Social Security or whatever else they're able to. So there's definitely that side of things, right? So not everyone has the money in the first place if they wanted to. I don't think I've ever heard a thing about people not spending money just because, like, I've never heard a blindness correlation there, other than probably as a socioeconomic group, that blind people in general, if you were to average, probably make a bit less than the mainstream because of, again, all the discrimination and lack of training and skills and all that type of stuff that sometimes permeates.
But it is a substantially smaller market, and so it could be portrayed as not wanting to spend
That's
money.
The bigger thing, right?
Yeah.
Forget who wants to spend or doesn't want to spend. You can say the stat that gets thrown out there is 2.2% of Americans have legal blindness. Okay, again, that's mostly your seniors who aren't really doing anything about it. That's the biggest untapped market, right? If you can get to them, that's great. But I believe I heard at one point there was a huge milestone when the Victor stream crossed 100,000. For sales, and that was believed to be one of the biggest, if not the biggest, product of all time in the blind, like a specific blindness product. Now that was several years ago. They probably sold another 100,000 by now. I don't have HumanWare's numbers, but that's the max, right? Everybody just about had a stream one or something similar. I bought the book sense because I always buy the other thing. So but just about everybody had one of them. The Braille and Speak yes, had a lot of people bought the Braille and Speak, but that was a Braille product, so that limits you further. They had the Type and Speak with the QWERTY, but they didn't sell 100,000 total. They probably sold many thousands. And I'd love it. It'd be fascinating to look at some of those numbers. But so yeah, the market is tiny. The market, and that's why it's not as easy to just pull a new product out and like why isn't there a talking whatever like I would love an accessible laptop power bank.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
We've been asked for it. I'd use it myself. I have to use an inaccessible one now. But, to get any manufacturer to even be interested in it, you got to buy them in the thousands usually.
Yeah. And we go back to can't buy something in the thousands.
Right. Now, that's why one of the cool things is about app-based stuff, right? The meter wasn't designed for blind people, but it works for us because of an app. I think there's one Anchor power bank now that's using an app. One of the really high-end ones. I haven't tried it, but maybe that's the solution here.
For sure. Couple more questions, and then we can wrap it up for today. Appreciate you spending time at 11 o'clock Eastern.
I told you. I said, don't ask me just goofy. Oh, you did the couple setup questions. This is much more interesting. Yeah. Good luck, AI, trying to summarize this one. I'd be really like, I don't know how it's going to try to. And don't skip half it either. Yes.
That's what it tends to do, I've noticed, is if you give it an hour piece of content, it'll be like, oh, this is what they talked about. I'm like, well, what about this topic and that topic?
Have you put the transcript for Technically Working or one of your other podcasts into Notebook LM and make a podcast about your podcast?
I believe we have done that, and I think it was stupid because it skipped half of it. Now, I do have, and I need to work on it a little bit more. Taylor actually talked a little bit about training AI, and I put together a Technically Working promoting GPT, and then I think it has like 25 transcripts. I need to go in and give it the other 70 transcripts and see how it can build on what we do with Technically Working, because we still don't know what this is.
Right. No, that's really interesting, right? I think there's a lot that, training and custom GPTs, like, I've been talking for the last year about making up a company one that would just holds a whole bunch of that type of product stuff, and I don't think customer facing AI. I don't think we're there. No. I'm too scared of it for one, because like there was the airline in Canada. Yep, they got sued because the AI offered like a 50% discount.
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah, your AI did it,
and that would be something that would happen to us too.
Absolutely, because people in any community, including ours, I would be. What are you talking about? I would try to jailbreak an AI if I saw one.
Yep.
And people were doing that with the Draws guy, with the Ask the Sharky thing.
Oh yeah.
Of course. So no, not for that, but there's a lot of. I think there's a lot of this potential. It's those little things right now. I don't think you're going to have a lot of AI things that are going to blow us away now. Now it's going to be, okay, how can we fix these things that we wish would work? Like AI understanding spatial relationships and things, so it can actually accurately tell me the layout of a remote or a keyboard and not just kind of come close. So like things like
I remember
that.
you saying when you first tried to Be My AI about how you snapped a photo of a remote and it got a couple of the buttons right, but not all of them. And that was kind of impressive, just that it could do that though.
Sure. Yeah. And, and a lot of times like it's really weird. It will do things that you didn't think it was going to do, like it would, like the air fryer and give me the temperature, and I can do that pretty consistently if I needed to. Or I think the first thing that ever impressed me was like, hey, you got a banana and it's a little yellow, a little brown. Like, oh, cool. I never thought of course you could feel it.
Right.
But those types of things are interesting. But then sometimes, new Gemini Flash 2.0. And yes, I know it's Gemini. But to be fair, I've been, game screenshots from the computer, playing Balatro, which is a poker rogue-like game. So you're given a starting hand of 8 cards, and Gemini didn't, and ChatGPT didn't, and Claude didn't. Like, nobody accurately read me all the cards. These are playing cards.
Wow.
So what is it? Like, I have my screen resolution up to the highest. I'm pretty sure the screenshot I take is not compressed in any sort, although I guess I should. But I've tried it any number of ways to do that, and it can't do it. So like I want that type of stuff to work. Like it would just be really, really cool. And of course, a step beyond that, and I know OpenAI was talking about it, or was it Claude, where you can have it click on the screen. I think that was an OpenAI, but it was really expensive too.
Yeah,
like that will come down in price.
It will, and we've come a long ways over the last year. I wouldn't be surprised. There's that. Oh, I forget the name of the application right now, but it was in beta on the Mac. Type Ahead is the name of it. And he was launching one for Windows, and you could chat with it with voice or text. And then it would say these. So, for example, I said, go clock me in at this website. And it went there, and I clocked in and clocked out and clocked in and clocked out like 10 different times because it wasn't fully there. But the fact is, it was able to control the computer and go and do something there, not quite fully there. And he was charging $15 a month for it. So it'd be interesting to see in 6, 8, 10 months where we are.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, and then of course, like everything else, like figuring out, it's sometimes hard to identify the monotonous tasks. Like, okay, well, what do I use this for? Like, yeah, I'm sure, I don't want, everyone's like, the first thing with AI is always like, yeah, you have AI write your emails. I don't want an AI to write my emails. I really don't. Like, I will once in a while, I will feed it like, all right, this is a message I've written. Do you see anything that I can improve? And it'll give me some ideas. I've done that.
Yeah.
But I'm not just going to have AI
do it all the way.
Yeah, exactly. And, even if it did, I would change half of it anyway. So I don't know. I just have to think about, okay, what am I doing repetitively? Now, I guess the only way you could have when you do a keylogger, I don't want to do that. Figure out what I'm doing
repetitively. AI with a keylogger, I'm not.
Yeah, Microsoft Recall, no.
Yeah, no.
Oh, so
no.
Part of it sometimes is like wait, what actually? This sounds really cool, and now I don't know why I would use it. But I bet you there's a reason that we just haven't thought of yet.
And I'm sure it will come. So, CSUN this year, you plan? 2025. Are you going to be there? And can people find you?
Yep. And I mean, sure. I don't know where I'm going to be. We never do a table there. For one, it's really, 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 really expensive.
Yeah, it is. Like a couple of thousand expensive.
More at least. It's only a couple thousand. I know it's more than that even.
Yeah.
But the other thing,
$3,000.
Well, the other thing about CSUN is what I see more. It's an industry show, so it's more business to business, B2B. There, we have found Overflow first met them at CSUN. Adele, those little light detectors, found them at a CSUN. And sometimes some smaller things, and then of course you can catch up with, Blind Shell and Orbit and the other blindness brands that are there. So that's what I do at CSUN. I don't pay the $500 and some for that part of it. It's not worth it, I don't think, unless you're in website auditing and testing, and then maybe. Although I think there's lots of other conferences. CSUN as a conference, I don't think it's the best value for the money, but it brings in lots of people. It's a great networking. If you're going to go there, go with the intent of trying to network. I mean, obviously everyone is different, but if you're local to California, just come into the exhibit hall for a day. It's free.
Yep.
And that's a lot of fun. Like, you don't have to, the hotels nearby are like $200 a night. But the ones, there are plenty within a mile or two. I usually stay at the Marriott or the Hilton, usually the Hilton. But I understand there are lots of hotels nearby. Like, if there are ways. My first CSUN, I stayed at a hostel in San Diego.
Yeah.
So I really, I'm going to make this work. I did that one time. And then I went to a $70 a night room the next year, and kind of just figured out what works. And so,
going back to Blind Bargains, I think there was an article in 2016 for accessing or getting to CSUN on a budget or something.
Yeah, well, that article was updated.
Comes up.
That article was updated a few different times. So, I'm not sure if the original version of that still exists somewhere because, man, that was the other fun thing about Blind Bargain. That was one of the coolest little side hustle benefits of that was, for a while, every time a new delivery app came out, and of course, every time there's a new app, they always had crazy referral bonuses, and they're like, tell your friend about Uber and get $10 in ride credit. So then Shipt and Instacart and DoorDash. So thank you all for the free meals. Really appreciate it, and that's a lot of fun. So
late night free meals.
That's that became the convention guide on a budget. I think half of it was all the links we had figured out. Like, all right, here we're in Houston or we're in Dallas now, so here's all the delivery apps that Dallas has right now. Because at that point they weren't all everywhere.
Right.
They were still kind of popping on. So,
and you stayed on top of those and brought that to the people who are reading it. So where can people get in contact with you then?
So I am on Mastodon. You can get me there. What is it? JGE9 at mas.to. I have a Blue Sky as well, which I'm not checking as much yet, but I think Blue Sky has a lot of potential. And so all the people that are, huge Mastodon fans, discover yours. That's the same JH9. Of course, if you have business questions or anything like that, people want to chat. That's like, if you have a question, if you are listening and you are thinking about starting a business, or you're in a business and you're trying to do something, like, I know I'm up, and I know you're open to that type of stuff too, right? So you can get me directly at jj@atguys.com. That's fine. Sometimes it might take a couple of days, but I will definitely do my best if it's something like that. Try to help people out, because we need more blind business owners and people, and really try to do what we can to promote that.
And there's some great partnership opportunities available for everyone involved too. So,
yes.
Reach out with questions. Well, thank you, JJ. It's been fun, and it wasn't hopefully not too terribly boring for you, and the listeners enjoyed it. You can reach out to me on Mastodon, Payown, Payown, at dragonscave.space. I had to think about that. That's the thing with Mastodon. You're just given an email address. Yeah. So, and then technicallyworking.show will have some sort of show notes, probably AI generated because I'm too lazy to write them myself, but we'll see where that goes. And feel free to reach out with any questions, feedback at technicallyworking.show. Demasi will see that email because I still haven't set it up on the Mac. So appreciate everyone listening, and thanks again.
Washing machine has completed.